Hello everyone, welcome to YourPedia Education. So today we are here at IIT Ropar and I got an opportunity to interact with Dr. Samdarshi. So hello Professor.
Hello everyone.
So first of all, thanks a lot for taking out time to meet with us today. It's an honor to have you here with us. So guys, in this interaction, we are looking forward to get into more deeper understanding of the research lab and facilities and the kind of the innovative research work which is being conducted here in the laboratory of IIT Ropar. So sir, could you please start by introducing yourself so that student can get more about you?
Okay. Hello everyone. So I keep it short, and so my primary research area is wireless communication, and as such area is very wide. So time to time we keep on changing the focus of application of this area. So for example, as of now I am currently focusing on intelligent transportation system, or which is you can see as an essential part of a smart city, which is a very big vision of current government, right? So we try to see how we can apply the latest technologies, latest communication technologies in transportation system, so that the user experience can be improved. It may be in terms, say for example, you are traveling on a highway and you are browsing some video, and then you see speed is not good, right? Or you are talking over phone, and then you realize no, there are a lot of hiccups. Phone sometimes it gets disconnect, right? So this is what user experience I'm talking, right? And at the same time, another important aspect of intelligent transportation system is the safety, right? Nowadays a lot of accident happens, right? Because when a car is equipped with lot of new technologies, it also diverts the mind also, right? So it's a part at the technology side, how we can ensure, how the technology can ensure that accidents will not happen, right? So there are lots of methods, lot of technologies we are working to reduce the causality. So this is one area.
So that's great, Dr. Samdarshi. It's quite impressive research area. So here I want to interrupt and ask you a few things, right? As you told that you are currently working on intelligent transportation system. So as per my knowledge, in IIT Ropar, we don't have any wireless communication specialization. So are you taking the student for PhD, or are this basically activities going for the master student who are coordinating and who are contributing? Which kind of student are contributing in these research area?
Okay, so see, I would not say that there is no specialization related to that.
Right.
So let me tell you, there is a complete communication group,
Right.
In which me, some of my colleagues like Dr. Satyam, Dr. Brajesh Kumani, Dr. Ashwini, Dr. Suman,
Right.
all these. So this is a very big communication group. Everyone has a different area of specialization. So we have then research related to drones.
True.
Right? Research related to massive MIMO,
Right.
which is nowadays a very important technology to increase the data rate requirements in the mobile phone, right? And then some antenna related research doing by Dr. Ashwini, and then some IoT related research. In fact, if you are aware, there is one availed in the IIT, right? Center of Excellence. Not Center of Excellence, but this is some Indian government initiative for a very heavy funding.
Yes, I was reading it somewhere else.
Right. So that availed. So in fact, Dr. Suman is related to that. So they are, he is into making a lot of innovative IoT products. So there are a lot of domains or directions in the communication. So under this communication group, so we have obviously UG here in IIT runs with the name of electrical engineering.
Right.
There is no specialization in UG, but at PG level we have signal processing and communication, right? So that way we provide master's degree. And then since we are 4 faculties, so there are many domains for the PhDs, and I think currently in communication group somewhere around, I think 15 to 20. I'm not adding those image processing guys, right? So I'm keeping them aside. Otherwise, communication, signal processing go hand by hand. So otherwise, if I include the signal processing guys, then it will be, I think, somewhere 30 to 35, I believe.
So as you told that you are right now contributing into the intelligent transportation system, right? So see, when student is on the verge of making a decision that what specialization he or she should opt for the masters. So if I talk about the electrical engineering, the priority wise, they mostly prefer the VLSI, then go towards the communication, signal processing, and these kind of the stuff. So the person who is coming by keeping in the mind that I'm going for the communication specialization masters, then what kind of skill at least you expect them to have at the preliminary level so that they can cope up easily with the curriculum?
Well, yeah, definitely there are some prerequisite we expect.
Right.
So for example, communication is the other name of, you can say, probabilistic scenario, right?
True.
So the probability theory and probability related stuffs, this is one thing which we expect a student should know. And since he's coming into the communication domain, so we expect some of the basics of communication he should know at least.
Right.
Apart from that, when we start a class, we always keep this thing in mind. See, there are lots of students with different and varying background.
Right.
So we always try to keep everything into mind, and we start from very basic. It may take 1 or 2, 3 extra classes, but we make sure that those different levels we can normalize to certain extent. Otherwise, I mean, these are just few things, and I mean, just some basics of communication, which I think normally remains a part of any UG course, whether it is a specialization in electronics and communication, electronics and instrumentation, electronics and control, electronics and electrical. All these mostly have some element of communication,
Right.
And I think that is mostly sufficient, and some basics of probability theory.
Right. So sir, see, after 12th class or after bachelor, every student want to make it into IIT, but the admission process is quite competitive in this hugely populated country. So unfortunately, not all the students get opportunity, be it through IIT, JEE or GATE. But still, they have an opportunity. They can join IIT for some short term of courses like internship and workshop. So I straight want to ask you that if somebody want to approach Dr. Saptrishi for any kind of the basically internship and workshop, how he can approach you and what prerequisite you look into that?
Okay, so mostly there are the two elements which you also iterated. The one is the internship and other is the workshop.
Right.
As far as internships are concerned, normally intake to the internships are through the institute. Institute will give some advertisement, whether it's a summer internship or it's a winter internship. So the easiest way is student need to keep on checking the institute website. Whenever there is a advertisement there, you apply against that.
Right.
So then accordingly, as per institute rule, we get the notification. Will select or as per the number of seats, will select them. So this is how they can come into internship. And as far as workshops are concerned, so there is no fixed timing or fixed way. It's like whenever there is a workshop, it's not the entry is not through the institute, but it is like direct from the organizer.
Right.
So if I am the coordinator for the workshop, I'll give one advertisement on the web. In fact, from my side, I'll try to populate it as many places as possible.
Right.
So they just need to register there, submit the fees, and depending, I mean, sometimes it's free also, but some registration may be required. So just keep. So we mostly give it on LinkedIn, Facebook, institute website, other through emails also, wherever possible. So whenever you come across such advertisement for the workshop, please register for that. And then it's a like one-to-one communication. If whatever query you have, you can directly communicate to the coordinator.
Professor, at the same time, we know that in IIT, all the premier institutions, there are many projects which are being going on, the sponsored project or some other project. So there is a time-to-time requirement of some project fellow, be it in terms of the project assistant, project associate. So tomorrow, if you have some requirements, so from where student get the information related to that, basically.
Okay. So again, since it's a public funded institute.
Right.
So we cannot, hire someone even in the project. So for PhD, this is a proper way. There is a PhD advertisement. It will go in the public domain. You need to look for it. As far as project entry is concerned, so normally in project also, if we want to hire some GRF, there is a advertisement.
Right.
It has to be, because this is from the guideline from the funding agency.
Right.
You have to give some advertisement for it. Should be in the public domain for at least 15 or 20 days before you conduct an interview.
Right.
So they wanted to make sure that it's not biased, that I just gave an interview today and then tomorrow I'll conduct an interview. So if I am in favor of some particular student, I'll get him in. No, it's not like that. I need to make sure that it has to be in public domain for 15-20 days or 1 month. Then whatever applications will come, we will scrutiny them, and then we will shortlist some students as per the criteria, and then we'll call for the interview. So as far as entry into the project is concerned, that is also through the advertisement.
Right. I got your point. So now many students, they have one dilemma in the mind. Let us suppose whether it is advisable to join JRF in IIT. I am adding to this question. Let us suppose some fellow is joining JRF. So he work here as a JRF for 2 years. Later, does IIT Ropar provide the luxury him to convert that JRF into PhD? If yes, so his 2 year will be counted in that or not?
Well, to the best of my knowledge,
Right.
There is a consideration of that work experience.
Right.
But again, so as if I'm recalling it correct, we have one category, project staff.
Yeah, project funded.
No, not project funded, but project staff category.
Right.
Where there is one institute member can apply, and then there is one category where if somebody is already working in a project, he can apply into that.
True.
So obviously we will consider that you have already worked in that area.
Right.
But again, he has to come through the public, through the proper channel.
Right.
It's not something that if somebody has worked already for 1 year, and if I want to get him into my into PhD under me, then okay, come and join. No,
Right.
you have to fight with the general pool, then come as per whatever the institute procedure, and then you come. Obviously we can consider, you can always say, yeah, I have already worked into this project. And the additional advantage is probably it's not that experience or weightage that counts, but the knowledge that he gains.
True.
Because once again, it's an interview, it's an open call.
True.
So where hundreds of students are giving interview, you also give.
True.
But since you have already worked here in that environment and you have learned so much, then whatever interview panel asks, you can answer. And that's where the edge is. Right. So that matters.
So right now, as you are here in the wireless communication, so there is a buzz around us related to 5G. As we were discussing, very soon it will be obsolete. We have to start talking about 6G, then we start talking about 7G. So let us suppose some person is doing his PhD in the wireless communication. So basically, how difficult is it in today's time to keep a balance between the fast-paced changing technology and your interest? Because the changing technology can be disruptive from the researcher point of view, right? So what is your take on this?
Okay. Well, this is definitely a very serious and hot question. And before that, there is one saying I can recall that as far as particularly PhD is concerned, the output of PhD is not the thesis.
Right.
We have a thesis after the PhD. So the saying is the outcome of the PhD is not the thesis, but it's you.
True.
Right. It doesn't matter how many papers you have published or how big your thesis is, but the thing is how much you have changed. That's how it is Doctor of Philosophy. The way you think, the way you see the problem, the way you take the challenge, that matters. And you see a PhD scholar, I mean the one who become a doctor, the way he look at the problem and a normal person see that is a different thing, right? So in PhD, I agree, things keep on coming, but then again, it's a matter of time. But what we ensure that rather than, so it's a kind of training process. PhD is not all about research, but it's about eventually he has to go to some institute. Eventually he has to teach students. So it's a teaching learning. It's a it's a research learning.
True, true.
It's learning in many domains.
Right.
So one thing is, teaching is never going to be obsolete, right? The way we teach, that's a fun, right? So whether today I'm teaching or maybe after 5 years, that actually with time it improves.
Right.
As far as research is concerned, so we never try to make a student specialized in some particular current topic, but rather we we touch the root of the problem.
True.
And root of the problem is, say for example, if I say a little bit technical, then we focus how to improve the throughput, let's say.
True.
Whether throughput was a challenge in 3G also, it was a challenge in 4G also, it is 5G and even 6G also.
True.
In 4G, it was a problem because we were interested in, say, HD video.
Right.
But now it's the age of 4K.
Right.
And even 4G is not sufficient.
Right.
So that's how now we are talking about 5G by I need 1 Gbps. Soon there will be a video of 8K or maybe MK. Then 5G will not be sufficient. So we touch the problem of throughput rather than 5G. So throughput is something. So, or let's say we talk about reliability. Reliability is something which is, so for example, nowadays we are talking about smart cities, a smart hospital, where latency should be very low to have a e-operation, right? So we talk about the latency, right? So whether in the today's scenario, maybe latency of 1 millisecond is difficult to achieve, maybe after 10 years our requirement will be 0.1 millisecond. Right. So problem is still the same, right. How to achieve better reliability.
But the technology you are involving at different
that
stages,
may
will
change.
Be different.
That may change.
Right.
So that's how, if I am able to address how to improve the throughput, then whether it is a 3G or it is a 10G, it doesn't matter.
True.
I know the root of the problem and I can always attack.
Right.
If you talk about, say, mobile phone, then obviously how throughput is related is a little bit different, but I know how I can address that. True. If you talk about wired, if you talk about, say, Wi-Fi, everywhere the problem is same, just some protocol and some environment variables will change, and then you can accordingly
That's
adjust.
quite impressive. And sir, continuing the same thing, as you know, when students go for masters, postgrads, so obviously they are taking a high risk. They already have completed the bachelor. So tendency is that, okay, in today's time, as I told you earlier, there is a buzz of AI, ML, data science, VLSI. So these are the top priorities of any student. So what is basically the future perspective for the student if he pursues masters in communication, like wireless communication, RF and microwave, and etc. Adding to the same thing, so does student get opportunity to implement AI, ML into these domain also?
Okay. So I would not say that it is wrong to run behind AI and ML, but right. At the same time, students need to understand, because, but yeah, I understand if I talk from the other side of the line, right. Those AI and ML are quite attractive words that without them it's very difficult to get the job and all. But see, here also, if a student get into any communication related PG courses, then we have different courses, say whether it's a detection estimation or drone related course or some digital signal processing, right. Or image processing. There you get chance to apply those AI ML things. So it's not that, but the only thing is we are not particularly focusing or advertising on AI ML application, right. But we talk about the technology where we use AI ML as a tool to improve. True. Right? AI ML is not the only tool to improve everything. True. There are so many things where other technologies can also come in
one aspect, right?
And other thing, AI ML is just one block of the entire picture, right? So it may be necessary to even work on a one block before that or maybe one block after. True. We teach the complete chain where AI ML is one of the tool. Right. So you will get a chance to learn that also. Right.
So sir, as we see in today's time, we are, here in the world where, there is a ocean of data, be it in the form of the YouTube, be it in the form of the Google, right? A lot of data is there spread. Sometimes students find it's very difficult that how to find or utilize the handful resources or basically trustworthy resources. So for that, we have few resources like Nptel is there. Each faculty is having their own web pages. So what is your take on the Nptel? So how handful and useful it's for the student?
I think very much. I will rate somewhere around 4.5 out of 5.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, that is.
But
So,
sometimes, students lose the patience. That's why videos are too much long. There is a lot of time taken to grasp the concept. So can we, just go for alternate? So what message you want to convey to
now
those
here is the catch. I still remember when we prepared for JEE, then often there were two groups. One is for the state level exam, where they teach you techniques.
Right.
And simple question can be and some question can be solved with that technique. There is some hit and try, I don't know what, but just by looking and by some small 1-2 line calculation, this is the answer. And the other approach, you get a proper technique, maybe 4-5 lines, and then you solve.
Right.
See, that student might be able to solve that question by some trick, right, in 1 or 2 steps. But since he does not know the essence behind that problem, he will never get into that. Right. So what happens, nowadays what is happening, students are coming after clearing JEE, but since they are mostly dependent on the techniques and tricks, it's very difficult them to perform here, because here we are not, we have a subjective exam of 3 hours in the end sem, and we have a proper step marking. Right. If you miss a step, or if you directly apply some technique which has no logic. I still remember in organic chemistry there was some technique, if the atom is symmetric, just cut a line and then add O and it will make a new product. Right? I mean, there was some complete trick for that, but there's no logic. But then if there is a proper technique, that if the electron will come here, then it will break the bond, then a new positive electron will come, and then, so this is a proper method, right? So I will say, rather than, I agree, Nptel video may be a bit large, but this is what the catch. There is a very famous saying, slow and steady wins the race, right? So it might be a time-taking process, but believe me, this is very useful. This is going to be very useful for you. Because in interview, when we take interview, we go to the basics. So sometimes कि अच्छा भाई ऐसे ये कैसे होगा, बोलेगा सर ये हो. अच्छा अगर ऐसे नहीं हो तो सर तो ये होगा. अच्छा मान लो ये भी नहीं है तो, so we keep on going down and down कि अच्छा भी ये भी, तो the only that student can answer who has a very good understanding in that subject. True. But if you know just the trick, then maybe just after 1 or 2 questions he'll say sir अभी तो पता नहीं क्या होगा, I don't know. So I agree Nptel video, but the one word what you have used is the authorized, the proper source of information. That is very important. There are lots of things available. In fact, sometimes we come across some of the sources where, something they have teach, but we know it is wrong, right? So that's why we always prefer very standard books, even in the classroom teaching, and very authentic resources. That is very important. Very important.
So sir, it seems there is a lot to look forward to, but it's a wrap-up time. So already you have shared a lot of experiences, and it's really helpful insights, and they will definitely help the student while deciding their career, whether to join this specialization or this specialization. So sir, any final bit of advice you want to share with our audience? As I told you in the beginning, most of our viewers are the student who might be sitting at the verge where they need to decide whether to go for PhD or not, whether to choose this specialization or not. So what will your final bit of advice for those students?
Well, I will not advise as a professor, right, but I will advise as a general person who is also learning with time. Right. See, it's not about only to get into IIT or get into PhD or get into MS, but it may be MBA also, it may be UPSC also, or anything. See, it's very important to keep an eye on your interest, on your resources, on your background, on your requirements. Right. What do you want from your life? It is very important nowadays. Right. If you are, you are some kind of guy who want a lot of luxury, lot of this and that, believe me, you will not be happy in a sarkari job. Because there are limited resources. Obviously stability is there, but limited resources. Right. You will not get crores of package in IIT, right? Then probably Google, Facebook, these are your best options. Yeah, but if you want, you have a different take on life, you are not behind luxuries, but you wanted to enjoy the time and other domains of life, other shades of life, then probably, or you are more interested into the research, and if you are really wanted to come into the academics, I would say then PhD is must. Right. In fact, a few days back, I'm not very much sure on the news, but I think some agency has made it mandatory to have the PhD to be into the academics, right? Sooner or later, it has to be, right? So if you are getting chance to get into IIT, try to get into best of the institutions, either whether in India if possible or go abroad, but do from the best of the places.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thanks a lot.
It's my pleasure.